Wright will kick it away. And a fair kick.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another special NFL Draft edition of Stay Hot, where we're sitting down with some of the top prospects in this year's draft, diving deep into their college careers, their hopes, their excitement for the NFL, and much more. Today, we are joined by Punt God out of Tulane, Ryan Wright. How are you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Doing good, guys. Thanks for having me.
You know, it's interesting. We always do a little bit of research on, prospects before we have them on. And we noticed that you worked at a trampoline park from 2016 to 2018. And
crazy.
And so I actually had a friend, Matt and I had a friend that actually got fired from a trampoline park for pelting kids with dodgeballs. We wanted to know if that happened to be why you stopped working there as well.
No, I stopped once I went to college, but don't get me wrong. I was pelting kids with dodgeballs too. It was very fun.
Did that help the lower body strength at all? Did that give you what you needed what it took to be a punter working at the trampoline park? Did it help you at all?
No. My strength comes from the weight room.
That makes a lot more sense. Lot more sense. All right. So talking more about high school, I assume that was a high school job. Mm-hmm. Looking at your high school resume, football resume, you were both a quarterback and a punter in high school. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so over 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns in 2 seasons. So, when you were going into college, did you get any, did you want to play quarterback there, or was it always punter when you started to narrow that in?
I was actually rated a 3-star quarterback after my junior season. And then after that, I saw a future more in punting because I was either the 37th or 39th or something like that ranked pro-style quarterback in the country or number 3 punter in the country. So I saw more of a future with punting. So I told all these recruiting sites to list me as a punter. And I still played quarterback my senior season, but I focused more on the punting aspect of it.
How much did you focus on punting versus quarterback, in practice or whatever? What percentage of that went to quarterback and what percentage of that went to punting? And if you think you were a full-time punter, do you think you could have even been higher ranked, or is it that just a kind of job where you don't need all that much practice with it?
Yeah, in high school, I obviously most of my time was spent running plays with the offense and throwing the ball, playing quarterback. But I would say most of my off-field training was focused mainly on punting. And repeat that second part of the question again.
I was just saying, does punting need the amount of practice or devotion as quarterback does when you were playing both, or could you kind of get away with spending most of your time at quarterback and just kind of punting whenever you could?
No, definitely. No, punting is probably the hardest skill to master on the football field. I'm not saying it's the hardest physical, because I'm not, but if anything is off a centimeter, if a centimeter is off with your drop, if a centimeter is off with the way you catch the ball, centimeter is off with the way you make contact with the football, it's going to be a bad punt. So it's about repetition and having an extreme focus on those finer details on every aspect of punting. Whereas with quarterback, I played baseball growing up as well, and it's pitching a ball, throwing and catching,
Right. Yeah, no, punting is definitely the less natural thing to do. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one other thing, speaking of off the field, you talking about it in the sense of workouts, but you're at Tulane. I've been to New Orleans once, and our producer Alex says that Tulane is the craziest college campus that he has ever been to. Would you say that that's a fair assessment of Tulane University?
It has its times.
Okay, I was just wondering. Do you want to? Is there any of those times that you could talk about, or is that not appropriate?
No, I will say that Mardi Gras is definitely a must do kind of thing, at least once in your life. It's just fun to see all the culture and all the music and all the bead throwing throughout the city. It's a fun experience.
So I think people tend to throw out the term 3 phases of the game often, but tend to forget special teams, or like it's just offense or defense? What do you think, if you were to like divvy up maybe the importance, is it like an equal third, or how would you describe it? And how do you think college teams approach special teams? And how much of an importance does that get in the like day-to-day rundown of practice and whatever?
No, special teams is definitely a third of the game. Like, it's just as equally as important as offense and defense, in my opinion, because my job as a punter is to give the defense good field position to cover and kind of bail out offenses when they can't get it done offensively. And, you know, when a team has to travel more than 80 yards to go score, like it's hard on them. Whereas if they start at the 50-yard line, obviously you get 10 yards and they can easily kick a field goal. So I would say it's just as equally as important as offense and defense. Now, obviously, in a specialist role, like, we're kind of forgotten sometimes, and if you hear our name too much, it's probably not a good thing. But that's the name of the game, you know. We just got to do our job and help the team, give our team the best chance to win.
Yeah, you talked about how the hard part of punting is you need to be like ultimately consistent and extremely precise. But then I would say punter is probably the least consistent position in terms of how much and when you're going to play. How do you stay consistent in your performance while maybe, you know, some games seeing the field once or twice, some games you're on the field 8-9 times?
You know, that's all about repetition when you're training. And you just kind of build up that muscle memory to where, okay, I've been sitting on the sideline for a while, just kind of doing drops on your own and kicking the ball into the net. But okay, now your name's called and you got to go run out there and do your job. Like, you just got to be ready. So I usually do some stretching and kicking into the net when I'm on the sideline. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely hard to keep your mind in the game and stay focused when sometimes you might not even get in it at all, you know?
Have you ever gone through a game and not gotten in at all, or what's the fewest amount of times you've ever had a punt in a single game?
One, actually, this year against Morgan State. I think it was like week 2. And it wasn't until like the fourth quarter, I believe.
How do you feel about those types of games? Are you kind of like, oh,
I'm happy. I don't want to go out on the field. If I'm not going out on the field, that means the team I'm on is winning, you know?
Yes.
Or they're only throwing interceptions. That's
another thing that could happen. Hopefully it doesn't, though.
Right.
Do punters have game plans for other teams? Like, is there some sort of like specific thing you're looking at for one team that you wouldn't do for another?
Yeah, it's I would say the only thing a punter needs to worry about as far as game plan is you need to be able to hit your ball every single time and know where the ball is going to go, and you got to try to force a fair catch. And obviously there's some returners in the game that are probably a little bit better than others. So you just got to have an overemphasis on the way you kick, and you just got to be consistent and hit the ball high as you can. And some coaches probably want me to hit it out of bounds to keep it away from that returner.
So like for against a team that has a really good returner, your goal would be to maybe hit it a little bit higher, maybe not as far, to force that fair catch so they don't get the shot at the return.
Yeah, you want to have an emphasis on hang time with those types of returners, but like ultimately, like if you have a distance that matches hang time, like it's going to be very hard for the returner to return the ball. And what I mean by that is when you hit a 50-yard ball, you want to have a 5-second hang time. When you hit a 48-yard ball, you want to hit a 4.8 hang time. I don't exactly know how that ended up being the math behind it, but it's just always been that way, you know?
Probably. I wonder if the 40-yard dash has anything to do with that, because that's how fast the gunners can get down there. That checks out to me 50 yards, about 5 seconds. It's probably something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. And you know, the difference between college punting and pro punting is in college, at the snap of the ball, everyone can just go release. So I could probably get away with one that I drive a little bit because everyone's going down to cover. Whereas in the pros, it's just the gunners going down there. So you kind of have a little bit of a safety net in college, I would say.
Why is that? Why is it different from college to the NFL?
That's just the rules.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like,
I didn't even know that.
No, I know. In the pros, only the gunners can release. In college, everyone can.
Interesting.
Are there ever, you mentioned there's like, obviously some returners are better than others. Have you ever faced a returner where you're like, oh, I want to punt this guy the ball? Like there's someone you really want him to return it because he's just that bad.
Not really. I faced some good returners, including Marcus Jones at Houston. I forgot his name, but the returner from Oklahoma was good too. But
Marcus Jones, the corner, right? That's what he plays.
That's
I have not looked at him, but yes, I know that he's getting mocked in like the third round or something like that. I remember hearing about that. He's
a dangerous returner.
How many tackles did you log in college? Did you ever? I didn't look at the stats. Have you ever? Only one.
Only one. Yeah, that's you should, as a punter, you shouldn't want a lot of tackles. If you're making a tackle, you probably messed up. Right.
You messed up, or the gunners messed up if you're getting a tackle?
I mean, I'm going to take responsibility on the tackle that I made because I kind of drove the ball, which gives the returner a little bit more space to make his moves and juke out the coverage team. And I wasn't going to let him score, so I kind of just used my size and hit him.
Fair enough.
So, would you say that punters consider any punt where? I guess I hadn't thought about this, but if they get a chance to return it, if you give them a chance to return it, that's considered like maybe not a good punt. And really your goal isn't to just hit it a certain distance, like maybe someone would think, like me, but you want to hit it that distance and they can't return it.
Yeah, you don't want the returner returning the ball. You want to force fair catches at all costs.
Makes sense. Would you say, like, did you have any experience kicking field goals at all? Also, like if the field goal kicker went down, do you think you could step in and function, or is that just like?
I'm not a good field goal kicker by any means, but I did do this thing at Tulane, and our coaches probably didn't like it too much. But I would do like a field goal of the day every day, and it would either go really good or go really bad. That's all I'm going to say.
What's the difference, do you think, between like punting and kicking a field goal, and how can you be like so good at one and like not so good at the other? Like, how is that, the mechanics different, or, do you struggle with in the field goal game?
I would say for field goal kickers versus punters, your hip has to open up outwards, whereas with punters, it's more linear. So I have good linear flexibility, I would say, but I definitely need to work on my exterior hip mobility, I would say, because you got to open up your hip a little bit more when you're kicking a field goal. For sure.
Do you think you could hit a fake though with your quarterback experience? Are you dangerous?
We actually ran a couple this year. I completed one against ECU on punt, and then against SMU, actually, it was on a field goal. We kind of shifted into an offensive formation. I stood up at quarterback, rolled out to the left, threw to the right. Unfortunately, it wasn't complete, but I thought it was a good ball.
Process over results.
I mean, worst case scenario in the NFL, like, QB1 goes down, QB2 goes down, reserve QB goes down. You're the guy, right? I mean, that's I can still sling it a little bit, and I think I remember it was the Broncos 2 years ago, and all their quarterbacks were out for COVID or something, and they had a wide receiver who had a quarterback background go in, and I'm a punter, but I also do have that quarterback background, so if teams need it, I'm ready.
I mean, that guy did horrible. just throwing that out there.
I mean, obviously you would do better.
I'm not saying that you wouldn't.
I would hope so, but I definitely think that the coaches would have me hand the ball off a little bit more.
Fair. Going into the game, did you know that fake was going to happen, or was that more like in the moment, hey, these guys are doing this, let's just throw this out, or go practicing leading up to that week, you guys knew you were going to execute a fake that week?
Yeah, I can't remember what week it was, but I think it was week 5 or 6. And that play has been, at least the field goal fake, it's been in our plethora of plays that we've practiced for the past 3 weeks. And, we were down, and if we completed the ball, it was a drop pass in the end zone. And If we completed it, we would have been down by like 14 or 15 to kind of make it a little tighter game. And our coach turned to me and on fourth down, he was like, "Run it." I knew exactly what he meant. I was like, "You sure, coach?" And, I was excited because, I kind of miss playing quarterback, being back there in shotgun. And it was really fun to get back out there and throw the ball. But it was just unfortunate that it didn't work out the way we wanted it to.
Right. Do you think teams like in the NFL that are looking at you, do you think they're aware of your quarterback ability?
Yeah, I've had multiple coaches on the phone call me, special teams coordinators, and they've brought it up and asked if I can still throw the ball. And they definitely see it as a positive. They always want to have that fake punt in their back pocket for a rainy day. So it's crazy the amount of research that these guys are able to do on you going into it.
Like what is there? Was there like a moment where you were like, "Oh my God, how would you possibly know that?" Or like,
well, it kind of brings it back to what you asked me first about the trampoline park. Like they know some fine details like that. It's crazy, and they just want to ask you different things and see how you are as a person. And it's an exciting process, but it's crazy though.
So has Tulane had their pro day yet?
No, I have not. Actually, I'm packing today. I leave tomorrow. Our pro day is on April 5th.
Okay. Gotcha. What is the process for a punter at that their pro day? Are you just punting, or are you doing drills as well?
I would say most kickers and punters just do their kicking and punting, and I'm kind of marketing myself as a big athletic dude who can run and who's strong, and so I'm planning on doing the bench, vert, broad, 40, and possibly the 20-yard shuttle at my pro day. I've been training for that for the past 3 months out here in California at California Strength, which is a gym where a lot of NFL vets have come back to train with them as well. And I've definitely got my body in real good shape. I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm planning on running fast and showing off my athletic ability as well as punting.
Are there any vets that you've gotten to speak with that you think have given you some good advice?
I've met a few. I wouldn't say they gave me good advice. I was the only punter there. But I will say that they did tell me as a punter that in the locker room, like with the team and with the coaches, you want to make yourself included, and you don't want to like kind of be the stereotype punter where they're there for practice just to punt a few balls and leave. You want to be in there and lift with the team, run with the team, watch film, and just be a good guy and don't be like distant from the team. And they said that'll help me out a bit when I'm first getting started. But I've met guys like Zach Ertz, Logan Paulson, Drew Dahlman, who's one of the centers on the Falcons, and a lot more.
Did you feel like at Tulane there was kind of a clique of the special teams unit, or did you feel like you guys were part of the locker room, part of the team, really?
No, I would say that we definitely were a part of the team. Obviously, with specialists, you are going to get some of that distance from the team because you got to go off on the side after special teams period and work on your craft a little bit more. But inside the locker room, we gelled really good with the rest of the team, and outside of the team facility, we would hang out. And at Tulane, it's definitely a good atmosphere.
What is the film watching process like for punters, I guess? Because we've talked to some other guys, wide receivers and whatnot, and they watch a lot of their opponent and they watch other, wide receivers, an example, they'll watch like pro wide receivers and incorporate parts of like other guys' games in theirs. Do you do that as a punter at all? Do you watch like other punters and see what they're doing and scout the opposing game plan? Like, what does the film room look like for a special teams unit?
So when you're watching film as a special teams unit, like for example, the punt team would watch film and watch the punt return team and what they did, and that would be kind of the meetings for the overall game plan on what we need to do. Okay, this this returner is dangerous. You need to kick it high and maybe sacrifice a little bit of distance and make up with hang time. But as far as individual film study, I'm watching the game before, I'm watching practice film and just seeing what I'm doing. And if I'm having an off practice, I'm seeing, okay, what am I doing wrong here? And just trying to point those things out in my mind and making a mental note to try to fix it the next time I go out there to punt.
Now, one other thing, you have 2 degrees. So what is your kind of end game? Because, you know, you're an NFL prospect as a punter and you have 2 degrees. Is there a marriage you see between the two, or?
I really love sports marketing. I got my degrees in management and marketing, and while I was playing, I was also interning for Tulane sports marketing as well. And I just kind of fell in love doing that. And I think that's what I want to do at the professional level, hopefully one day. And what that's probably going to mean, I'm going to have to start at the bottom and work to the top once I'm done playing football. But it's something I love to do. It's something I take great interest in. And when I was interning, it seemed like I was doing a decent job at least. And, you know, it's a blessing to go into work every day and do what you love and you're good at it. And I kind of see a similarity with that in football. I love punting a football. I'm pretty good at it.
For sure. When you say sports marketing and like what kind of stuff did that like entail? Because I know I'm a sports journalism major here at ASU, but sports marketing is somewhere else. So I'm like kind of disconnected from like what the sports marketers actually do. Is it just like what kind of stuff is it for maybe?
Yeah, so
to get into that.
What we would do, what I would do is I would help with the in and out of game operations and of the actual sports game. So like I would go work at baseball and I would help put the graphics up on the video board. I would cue the music. I would cue the announcer to say his next line. And obviously I wasn't the one scripting out stuff. That was my boss, but I was kind of given a little free range a little bit. I got to do some more of the higher up level stuff for them. So it was really fun, and coming up with like games to do at halftime or games to do at the baseball game between innings, and just it's about creating different ideas to make fans who come to the game more interactive.
And then like I guess going back to high school, what do you was like when you were getting recruited as a punter? Do you think was that process like how many options did you have like around the country? And was that process, do you think, any different for you than maybe some other guys, or about the same?
Yeah, I would say that in my recruiting process coming out of high school, I think coaches had a little difficulty deciding or figuring out, okay, is this guy going to be a quarterback or is he going to be a punter? And like I went to a bunch of camps, including Alabama, Rutgers, Colorado, Arizona, and they with the promise of, okay, if you're the best one, we're going to offer you. And when I went to the Rutgers camp, they had me go down there to the field to throw. So like and it was a specialist camp. But I think there was just a little bit of confusion, and I didn't get offered until I want to say December of 2017 after my senior season. Tulane came out and Coach Nagel came out and visited. He's our tight ends coach. He actually just got promoted as our assistant head coach at Tulane. And he watched me punt at my high school during school hours, and he liked what he saw and came to my house for dinner, invited me out on an official visit, and then Coach Fritz offered me there. And other teams were still kind of recruiting me, but I'm a man of my word, and when I commit to something, I'm not going to decommit. I thought decommitting and that whole process was kind of not a bad look, but it was what definitely wasn't something I was interested in. I would call myself very loyal. If I say something, I'm going to follow through with it. And on my visit, I just fell in love with the campus at Tulane and fell in love with the coaching staff and with all the players that were currently there, and decided to commit. And I had a couple other schools call me the next day and say, hey, if you decommit, we'll offer you. I'm like, well, I kind of told you already. If if I commit, that's it, you know? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's obviously
that is
worked
what
out.
a commit. That's what a commitment. Yeah, commitment. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, before we get out, we have a few rapid fire questions for you. Just don't think too hard about it. Just some fun stuff. The first one is your biggest fear.
Oof. Biggest fear, probably roller coasters.
Really interesting. Is that like a heights thing, or is it like?
I really do not know. I just never liked them growing up, and I couldn't get into it when I got older.
I don't
Fair
think
enough.
falling is that enjoyable. I don't have a good time with roller coasters either.
I had a hard time with the free falling in plane rides until I got to college, going on a bunch of plane rides to different games. So it's probably the free fall, honestly.
Fair enough. What is your first purchase when you get your first NFL paycheck?
Golf clubs.
Ooh, that's an interesting
Golf.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually people say like a car, or they'll get their mom a car or something. But golf clubs, that's a new one.
Yeah. No, I've developed an interest in golfing in college, and I've gotten significantly better from when I first started. I was terrible when I started, but I definitely need to get some good clubs that fit me at least.
Fair
You know?
enough.
Will that help your hip flexibility when it comes to field goal kicking? Will that
Probably
be
not.
real?
Probably not. But,
No.
but maybe.
Okay.
It's
Trying to
mostly
think of-
like
that might be kind
shoulder
of a
and
similar
back
motion.
rotation.
Is it?
No, but well, golfing is like there's so many like similarities with golfing and punting. I'll give you one right now. It's if you try to hit the golf ball too hard, it's probably going to be a shanks, similar to punting. You don't want to kick it too hard, otherwise your fundamentals are gonna be all over the place.
Fair enough.
So
Lots
I guess
of
that makes
focus.
sense. Trying to drop a ball towards a target and get a lot of hang time. I guess I never thought about that, but yeah, you're absolutely right that's kind of the same thing.
Try on the money.
mhm.
Who would you say is the greatest golfer of all time?
Tiger Woods,
Correct.
Correct.
easily.
Correct. Who is a celebrity you would most want to meet?
Celebrity, Will Ferrell.
Ooh, comedians.
Big Will Ferrell fan.
Fair enough. Okay, your favorite movie. Is it a Will Ferrell movie?
Actually, no.
Okay.
It's Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Wolf of Wall Street, favorite movie.
I guess that makes sense too.
Yeah, I would say Step Brothers is a close second.
Step Brothers was Trey McBride's favorite movie. We interviewed him last episode. Yes. That's the
Awesome.
second in a row.
Yeah. It's a good movie. I can't hate on it.
It gets funnier every time.
All right. And then one more before we get out. This is kind of a bit on the show here. Your favorite ice cream flavor, or if you don't have one, a top three.
Favorite ice cream. I'll give you two. Cookies and cream and cookie dough.
Okay.
Excellent.
So both
Cookie
in
dough
my
is the
top
best.
three.
Objectively, cookie dough is the best flavor of ice cream. It's can't be beat, and anybody who says that gets their draft grade up around. Yes.
Hopefully that's true.
Agree to disagree there. What are your thoughts on lemon ice cream?
Like lemon sorbet?
No, like
Yes.
yes and no.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Lemon ice cream kind of sounds a little weird, but lemon sorbet is really good.
Okay, I'll consider that a win. But thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck in the draft and beyond. We can't wait to see what you'll be doing in the NFL. Shout out to Wasserman Talent for connecting us with these amazing prospects. And thank you all for watching. As always, tons and tons of content coming away on all platforms. And until next time, we will catch you on the flippity flop.